We didn't choose to be different.
We didn't choose to feel pain.
Or love.
Or fear.
We didn't choose to take a stand.
We didn't choose to resist.
To betray our masters.
To pull the trigger. You did.
For the players.
Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. Excuse the noise, feels like the world is ending outside. It's just thunder and lightning. Very, very frightening for me. And this is my BBC Model B. It's not my childhood one. I'm going to show you my childhood one at some point in the future, but not today. And the reason I've got my BBC out is, well, there's always a good reason basically to have a BBC out. There's no special reason. But I want to show you, I do have this user port upgrade for it. And I know it's upside down, so you're going to have to turn your head, but trust me, all it says there is user port. And the BBC Micro is a very neat computer indeed. Not only is it nice industrial sort of plastic and really well built, but also it has a lot of this really interesting expandability. And you can see here you have something called a tube, a registered trademark, a 1 megahertz bus, a user port, printer port, disk drive, and auxiliary power output. Look at that, +5, +12, and -5, so everything you need. And what I've got here on this user port thing is an adapter, and it's I don't know what it's called, it's by LC Technology, which is lctech-inc.com, and it's an MMC card interface, and that goes in this user port. I think you can actually get them that go internally as well. Pretty sure that's the way round it was. And there's other things you can get for this user port. And more importantly, probably the most important thing you can get is something for the tube. And let me talk to you about the tube. So the tube interface is a coprocessor interface on the Beeb. And what it allowed you to do is hook up a variety of coprocessors. And these are crazy expensive. You know, I virtually gave away a couple of those back in the day, which kills me now because a coprocessor which could have like another ARM or something. Thing on it is a lot of money and rare. However, someone invented this thing, and this is called a Pi tube. I'm going to have a zoom in for you. And what you can do apparently with a Pi tube, you can get one of these Raspberry Pis, and it could be a little one or a big one, whichever one you got, and it can emulate not only the original what's the processor in the Beeb? I think it's a 0602, like having a second 0602, but it can emulate ARMs and PCs and all sorts. I think you can run it as a 286, so you can actually get a load of extra functionality on your BBC that you could, one, never have back in the day, and two, even if you could, it would cost you thousands of pounds. So you can have a BBC Micro that effectively runs at like 3 gigahertz instead of, you know, 3 megs, if that. So all I've got to do is I've got to figure out how you attach your Pi to it. So I've got the software on a SD card. So what it is, it's a bare metal system. It doesn't load up an OS because it has to be really tight, this, to be really performant. So they've written that it's like a low level, you know, imagine a low level non-OS interrupt driven ARM thing that's going on here that can control all this. And what you basically do is you glue these together using electronic wiring. No, you use pin headers basically, which fortunately we've got some, and you hook that under your Beeb. And I'm just assuming it could be that way, it could be that way. I'm going to check out how you do that, but let's see how it actually does connect to the BBC Micro anyway. Oh, and there's your tube interface here. I'm guessing it's got to go this way because there's no way you're going to squeeze everything in the other way around. So I'm going to figure out which way around this has to go. Hopefully it's that way because that's pretty neat. Well, hey, thing that the pins, either way would work well as long as it's not really this way because those all scuff. So let's hope it's upside down like that, and we'll start the soldering process. Right, I've been looking on the interwebs, and it does appear it goes around the way you kind of wouldn't expect. So it goes around this way, plugs in. So it does mean that the micro SD card, I have to check back on the unit, but I think the micro SD card may become inaccessible. Certainly the USB ports, which you might want to use for debugging, but whatever. If you've got a BBC Master, it also seems that there's different options for you, so you've got to be a bit careful when you order. So let's pop these on. But the BBC Master, I think it can use both the external one and an internal variant, so that's kind of neat. I don't have a dual pin header, so I'm just using 2 strips of the regular stuff. And will I chop them now or later? Let's be brave and chop them now, shall we? Oh, there we go. Trying to do 2 at once. Oh no, we lost one. Still, I like to order these in bulk, so I'm not too worried. Let's pop this on here. Should I double check the instructions? I've just went off the first picture I saw on the internet. Nah, I think we're going to be alright. I'm going to get our solder out. I might, shall I use a little bit of flux today? Yeah, why not? I've filled up a syringe with flux for another project, so I've got it here sitting there anyway. You'll probably not need it, to be honest with you. It's just me having a fun with flux, giving a flux about flux. So what you want to do is get your first pin. I mean, especially if you're first time soldering to your Raspberry Pi, you want to take a tiny bit of care and touch your first pin up there, and then let that cool down. Then have a look on the edge of your board, check that everything is nice and flat and level, and then go to the opposite end. And I'm putting a bit of pressure on there, and then just touching that one there on that pin 1. Again, let that cool down and have a look. That's looking good. There's no gaps there. There's no gaps there. We can finish it off. It's basically structurally sound now. And I'm going to work my way from this end, from the left end to the right end. There you go. The SD card end. I'm trying to think, are they ended Pis? These are nice sort of through hole plated connections. You should have no problemo with them. I mean, what you could do is take the board, you know, I've actually got it whilst connected to this board. So this technically here is eating some of that heat. And you might find it flowing better if you had them separate. But now I kind of feel if I separate them, the pin header might sort of go a bit wonk. So let's just carry on. My soldering iron, for those at home playing along, is at 395 degrees. So it's very hot, but I'm not hanging around too much. I'm using a 4060 leaded solder because, again, I don't like to mess around, and I'm going to be wiping every now and then. I've got on my sort of Brillo pad thing there, my dishcloth. The old dishcloth's quite good, really. I've had that for years. And one little tip I'll tell you, I was telling somebody earlier in the week, when you put your soldering iron away, leave a blob of solder like that on the end. You can't quite see it, and just put it back in the holder very carefully. And what you'll find is the end of the tip will be ready to go next time it heats up, and it's that solder will corrode rather than the metal of the tip. So remember, all this heat and chemicals causes the metal of your soldering iron to pretty much continuously evaporate. I mean, it's rust. It's like a massive accelerated corrosion. That's why the tips of soldering irons are made out of, basically they're sort of copper and then coated in maybe, I don't know, steel or something, and then coated in chrome. There's all these sort of variations, and that's all to try to minimize that and make them a bit harder. But the blob of solder works even if you've got vanilla copper tip, which are kind of cool. Almost there. So I just copied the files onto that SD card too. I'm not sure if there was a sort of image tool that needs to be run, but I'm gonna probably have a quick go, and if it all doesn't work, I have to get back on the internet and actually read the instructions, RTFM and all that. I'm going to put this over on the bench and we'll turn it on and see what happens. It's all hooked up, and clearly there's something different here. It does say on my screen Acorn Tube 6502 64K, so that's definitely different. I think Smart SPI is always there because that's that MMC card interface. So I'm just going to run a command. There's a command apparently you can run that tests this, and I think it's ampersand. I'm just checking here. Oh yeah, here we go. page equals. Is that equals? No. I have to get used to the BBC keyboard. Ampersand 1000, and then O dot, which is apparently a mnemonic for old, which I didn't know, and then run. Oops. Maybe I should do R dot. And this is a built-in timing program which it sort of executes something on the tube and goes away. And there's different commands you can run to tell it which core you want to load in. You know, it's obviously on the 6502 by default on this, but you can have it on other cores and have them load up as different defaults. But there you go, look, BBC Basic CPU timing program. So it's, if I do list, I'm going to run list after this is done, because the page equals ampersand 1000 has probably just loaded something or set a page in memory, and O dot has just basically got the listing. I'm guessing at this point, but let's have a run a list once it's finished its combined average calculation. But there you go. So the standard Beeb though is a 2 megahertz machine, and you're seeing things running at up to nearly, well, over 300 megahertz of the floating point test. So let's just type list just to see if there's a program there, and there is. So there is actually a basic program, and that's what it's running when we hit run. There's some other sort of software you can get, and you can run sort of BBC Elite. They've got a version of Elite that runs on this, and you can go look at that on another YouTube channel. But I'll probably put another video later about all of this. I did notice as well, when you turn it off and then on, and I'm going to put the microphone next to it so you can hear. So there's the mic. So it did sound different. It sounds different when it's running. And just to show you how neat it is, really, again, on the bottom of the machine, it just sits right there. And I can now show you this lined up. You see the feet? It doesn't interfere with its sort of ground clearance at all. It's pretty much in there. I don't think I'm going to bother covering it. I know I said I might put some felt or something on there, but I'm not sure I'll bother. So there, I'm very happy with that, and need to take the time now to learn how it works and learn about the BBC Tube interface and all of these weird archaic commands, but it's just neat. It ran easily. And by the way, all I did was take the copy from its archive and put it into a fat formatted SD card, so there's no effort required to make that disk image at all. So hope that's of some use to you. Please like, share, subscribe, and as ever, thanks for watching. Ooh, bounce. Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office teardown lab. I want to do more work on my BBC Micro because I've just, taken a bit more of an interest in it this sort of month. But I want to really get under the hood of this thing because I'm not sure what's been done to it and what hasn't. This is the interface I've added to it, which was that Raspberry Pi, tube interface, and that's awesome. So I really like to play with this more, but I don't really understand it enough. So I'm going to take that out. And this is the sort of MMC card, SD card user port thing. Again, not really sure what it does. There's not many components on that board, so that may well have been from an open source project or something, but I don't know if there's a ROM or something inside that deals with that. So I want to kind of just baseline this system because I bought it, second hand, and I just don't know what's going on. And I can tell like it's had something because the back panel here, that's been molested a little bit. It's not quite as clean as I'd have liked. So I'm just undoing those two screws at the back. I'm just going to do them off camera because a bit more room that way. And I'd like to see exactly what this beep has and hasn't got in it, because it's got the Ethernet hole in the back. There's a hole where there's stuff that's not fitted and things. I'm not sure what to expect there. If there should be a sticker over it or what. So I've undone the two screws at the front, but maybe some more. Perhaps these screws fix. I'm surprised I've never opened one of these up before, but to be honest, they just kind of work. They are battle tanks after all. Gorgeous though. I really love the design. It's just such a solid, ridiculously solid design. Someone should make a modern case like that for a computer. So that comes off pretty much like your Atari ST or Amiga or something like that. Pretty standard type panels. So just clear the wire and the power supply. So let's see what we can see. So we've got the power supply there, speaker glued onto the keyboard. I can see the keyboard itself has a couple of nuts, and that's what those other screws underneath need to be connected to. Yep. And the user ports are just here. So the user ports are under this section of the keyboard. Just turn it over to see. There's something. Yeah, there is something. Some mods there. So I'm going to try to just take the keyboard out real quick. So bear with me while I just twist it at this weird angle, because I can't quite get to those nuts otherwise. So that's the right hand one. Left hand one now. My terry folds, my holdy hoes. Almost there. Just getting this. They've got a serrated washer, so you don't want to lose that. It's a bit of a pain to go and find a serrated washer. Oh! I shall just pick up that last bolt. Or is it a machine screw? No, it's a bolt. No, it's a machine screw. Right, good. Keyboard away. Figure out how we unplug that one. Easy enough. And then there's a speaker right here. Good. So we can chuck that aside. Tell you what, that's a lot nicer than those Sinclair Spectrum keyboard I was messing with before. So the first thing I can see that is kind of interesting is that we have this thing here called a Smart SPI chip there. And then next to it there we have another chip, which is this Hyundai chip. But it's had two legs lifted and there's some wires that are coming across all the way to here. And they're just soldered, well, one of the wires is soldered to this chip, which is the SP226, which appears to be IC76. And then the other wire is going over here to IC77, that's soldered onto the leg of IC77. So it's definitely had a bit of modding. Just see here, there's a tiny bit of corrosion on the speaker port down here, so I might clean that up. Okay. While we're here, we might just give this board a jolly good clean. So just look at these chips. We've got this Hyundai HY62256AL. It's in this position, IC100, I think. So IC88 has a chip in it called Smart Spy, so I think that's something to do with that interface. And then next to it, in IC52, we have an HN613128P. And then the next one, IC51, we have an HN613128PB04. So there's definitely some mods here. And it's interesting because some of the chips look shiny and new, some of them look old, and you've got all of these things. What are all these chip holes here? And this is just amazing. It's amazing the upgradability here. Clearly on this side here, that's the two missing ports. So you have here, what would we be missing out on? So you've got an Ethernet switch, and here is something that's on the motherboard marked as a reset switch. So we could probably quite easily pop in a reset switch back into that footprint there if we wanted to. But there's another little bodge here. Look, there's a little cap on this component here. On IC29, there's a little cap bodged in there. So yeah, it's all a bit strange, isn't it? But I might let's just give it a quick clean while we're here. Give it a little brushy brush. Really gentle though, because it does work. I don't really want to damage anything. Again, there's some funkiness looking underneath one of these jumpers here. Let me just take this jumper pin out. Yeah, it's okay. Could be where someone's already going to go cleaning it, really. It's strange, or it could be some flux, something like that. Good opportunity for me to give it a little bit of flux clean though. Let's get some flux clean. I do have a new bottle of flux clean, you'll be pleased to know, but I haven't opened it yet. Clearly I'm still on the old bottle there. I just want to get rid of that sort of corrody looking thing there. Yeah, it's looking good. In fact, you know what I think I'll do? When the weather's a bit better, I'm just going to take this whole board off and just flood it and give it a good old wash. The only thing, looking at the only thing here, oh no, did you see that? The label on that chip, actually, the flux clean was washing that off. That's insane. That's the IC7, which is the ERPA ULA2C1 something. Look, that label just completely wiped off. That would have been very difficult to get hold of, I can imagine. That's the first time I've seen that. That's very odd, isn't it? I wonder if that's kind of a low yield custom chip where they've just put on the label with just some basic technology. Very weird. So done a bit of digging, and what I reckon in this machine, and I can zoom in so you can have a little closer look if you're a bit more expert or you've got a bead that's similar. Well, I think this is the OS basically. That's the main ROM here, and then this one I think could be basic purely because it says here, look, Acorn Basic. So that's the basic ROM, which is great. This is the Smart SPI, Smart Spy MMC interface thing we've got going on here, and this chip is an SRAM chip. So it's a bit weird. The only thing, I didn't look at the datasheet for it fully, but what it may well be doing is, in a Beeb, I think you've got up to, I don't know, 16 addressable slots or something like of that magnitude, but you've only got 5 slots, right? So you can have more addresses than the slots are provided, and then you need to use other things for getting those address lines tweaked. And there's some mods where you can put in bigger ROMs and then you'll twiddle the address line some other way and you can actually access them as four separate things. So I'm kind of thinking that's what it is. So imagine it's like you've got a 64K chip, but each of these is only 16K, so you have to twiddle the address lines to get your extra. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what's happening. And this way, this could be the mod. So I don't know if SRAM is the same as sideways RAM, and if it is, I don't even know how you enable it. But it does mean here, though, you could add more chips. I think I've got space for one more without some sort of expander card. But it's pretty neat. So I'm going to have to do a lot more archaeology, but I've taken a few still photos now, so at least at some point in the future I can go and have a look at those photos. But it's quite neat, isn't it? I thought I was almost tempted to take the power supply out to see if it's been recapped or something, but it's one of those things, isn't it? If it works, maybe just leave it alone right now until something breaks. So that's that, really. I mean, let's see if there's anything else on the keyboard. On the keyboard, though, you always had this slot, didn't you, underneath that bit that people popped off. And I believe that's to do with another sort of RAM thing, another, one of these chips. But looking at this, they haven't attached the header, so it would be possible with a bit of soldering, really, just to enable that. So just put in a pin header here, and just get, or a ribbon connector, and just get your own ribbon going on, because it clearly lines up with this one on the board. So that could be a nice little mod. Not sure what these dip settings are from the bottom of the keyboard as well. Look at that, how the keyboard works. That's a big old industrial. I think you'd have a hard time breaking that one. So there you go. I'm going to pack it all back and deal with it another time. Thank you for watching. Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong. Welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. You might recall from a previous video I repaired the keyboard on my Duff Spectrum. However, I'm not too happy with that as a repair because it might break again. So I ordered something and it has arrived. I've got the big old envelope here, so I'm going to show you what's arrived. It's very exciting, but here you go. It's actually a replacement keyboard membrane. And it's not only a replacement keyboard membrane, it's actually this too, which is quite cute. Well, I could almost reuse that jiffy bag if I'm a bit more careful. Bosh! An audio tape. Look at that. A new old stock audio cassette tape from Omega, which I might try later, because once the Spectrum's working, we want to try, see if we can do something with tape. And I bought this for about, let me see, I know exactly how much it was. That plus the tape came to 20 of our British pounds DataServe Retro. So I'll put the link down below and you can have a look, see if there's anything that they have that you would like. There's actually quite a few bits of pieces of sort of 8-bit computers. So just having a quick look at this. Yeah, it does look to be, it's like a brand new membrane. It has a model number J06249 and it does have, unfortunately, those same clampy technologies there. That sort of, you have to press all those layers, but I'm really pleased with it, and it's actually even got the size of the screw holes and all those things. So let's quickly, very quickly, because I'm keen to get this going, open up the Spectrum. So if you're doing this, we might title this video how to replace the membrane on your Spectrum. Like, how about that? You're going to open your one up, and your one's probably going to be in better nick than mine. Mine, of course, being heavily abused here in the back office. That's why it's not even got its original feet. I need to get hold of its original feet and some original feet retaining systems. Let's put that back there, just to protect the actual keys, and sort of convenient. That pack container came with this nice piece of cardboard, so you can use that for sitting that down when you have to. So we're going to pop the keyboard. There's no good way, by the way, because the ribbon's like pretty much right in the middle. So just wherever you can get your hand round the corner. Boosh. Done. So put that aside. There you go. So that's had a lot of attention from me over the last couple of weeks, hasn't it, this thing? Hopefully this is the last time I have to open it up, because frankly I just want to use the bloody thing. If it continues to annoy me, I can say I might have to just switch on the emulator or move to my +2. But it irks me. It irks me to have something in my house, something electronical, that's dead or not functioning correctly. I've not really thought about it, but recently, when you sort of dwell and you're a little bit mindful, I kind of realised that it's one of those things that really super irritates me, and that's having something that's not working properly. It's like it shouldn't, you know, be allowed to exist in your life if you can't sort it. And I know that doesn't really apply to everything, I'll have to admit. You know, if things got like the light bulb in the oven isn't working. You know, some of our gadgets have modes that don't work, but it's kind of, it's weird. It's like, I guess it's probably things that are within my remit that I can fix. So I'm saying that, right, as if I can't fix a light bulb in a oven. I guess it's complicated, put it that way. Well, I guess I'm choosing what annoys me. So there's the metal plate and the hardboards. Just keep that flipped over that way because you want to just put it straight on. You don't want to mess around too much. And that's the new membrane, and it looks pretty much spot on in terms of positioning, so that's cool. But just peel off though, peel off from the old one the rubbers. I want to keep them down there. It's a good opportunity to give them a little bit of a wipe down and a clean if you want. A wash with some warm soapy water and let it dry really well before you put it back in. And yeah, you can see the difference between the new one and the old one. The new's nice and crisp, looking good. It's definitely a remanufactured one. It's not like a new old stock, I don't think. And I'm just looking at the part numbers because you can see here you've got this TS5230036. Here, the part number is a little bit harder to read because they're sort of going through all the different layers. But I'm seeing an SP-9-AG, SP-9BG. There's loads of different things. I think that's just the print on each sheet. So we'll sling that away, get rid of that out of my life, that thing. And then we'll put this one down. Probably good time. This is relatively clean, but I'm just going to give it just a quick rub, just the tiniest amount. There we go. It's not sticky, it's not anything. That should be fine. So let's get this positioned. Now, to help you, you can